Third party has rapidly evolved since it became popular back in like 2011, going from upgrade kits to full-on figures to finding its market and its consumer base, rooting itself like super deep into the fandom because it's now an integral part of a lot of fans' collections. Back in the quote-unquote old days of third party, like 2011 to 2015, companies were pumping out loads of new ideas, things based on niches or just stylized takes on existing ideas. What happened to that? Today's third party is a lot of who can make the best masterpiece interpretation of a character, or who can make the best MPM of a character, or just general G1 stuff, with just a hint of dwindling comic book and video game things in there. It's not as popular as it used to be, so it's not being made as much as it used to be. But back in its heyday, quote unquote, it was full of unique takes on characters and stylized designs that were spectacles. They would do unveilings at TFCon for stuff like this. They used to show off tons of different prototypes. They don't do that anymore. I kind of miss that. Anyways, enough rambling. Let's actually look at today's subject because it's an interesting one. Now, that's not to say we aren't getting fresh stuff now. Fans Hobby brought in Unicron Trilogy to mainstream third party. Japanese G1 is starting to take center stage and Prime stuff is starting to pop up. So that's nice. But here we have Mastermind Creations starting point. This was one of their Hearts of Steel figures, which is what they started making. This is their Starscream mold, and it's one I've always wanted. This Seeker mold just looks so interesting, and in Skywarp colors, I just couldn't resist. That, and it was $40. This thing is packed with detail, and even has bits of Mech Alive in it, but let me get the bad stuff out of the way before I talk about the good, because this thing hasn't exactly aged the best, so it broke. All the images on the box have the backpack section, like, closer to the head than it actually is in real life. So in my first transformation, when I was folding the thing down, I forced it farther than it was supposed to go and it snapped off. That's mostly my fault for forcing the struts to where they were not supposed to be, but those struts are so incredibly thin that when I put barely any pressure on them, they snapped. So that's a shame. Just be careful of that, please. The plastic also isn't what we're used to today from third-party companies. It feels slightly more brittle, so I'm a lot more careful with it. And the articulation is strange. The way some of the joints move and the places they move is just weird. Oh, and it's pointy as shit. Seriously, third-party companies just round your corners. There's no need for them to like give me the ability to be able to shank someone with. I don't need that. But other than those issues, I really like this thing. It looks friggin' cool. The colors are really nice and the general aesthetic hits me right where it should. I love the head sculpt. It makes the traditional Seeker head look more steampunk, and the metal armor plates all over this thing keep that aesthetic consistent. The shoulders, the thighs, the knee pads, they all follow that general like slat design, which looks really cool. There's a lot of nice silver paint, and I really like the gunmetal they use on this guy. However, I don't like the unpainted gray. I don't know why they didn't just stick with using gunmetal throughout the whole figure, because the unpainted gray just looks ugly in my opinion. He comes with a bunch of stuff. A track that I lost, the arm-mounted guns, which is different per Seeker, which I do like, and they rotate. You also get extra hands that just change the color, and an extra head if you want to give him a screaming face, which is really nice. You also get all these screw hole covers, which is nice, but I'm never going to use them. But you also have all these blades all over him, and you can actually hold a couple of them. You just take them off, and they look damn good holding them. You can even hold them as like this large throwing star shield looking thing, which is so fun to get him to pose with this. It's really, really fun. I love it. Articulation is plentiful. He has a ton of joints, and where you bend the knees, the gears and the legs spin. I love that. The arms are really well done, but the shoulders are finicky on my copy. They rattle around quite a bit, and I really wish the wings could fold back to give him a bit more expression and less hindrance when trying to move the arms backwards. Transformation is kind of fiddly. A lot of the things you need to move are so thin, so I urge you to please be careful, and getting the arms and the upper body to automorph, like getting all that situated properly, can be a bit of a pain. But the jet mode you end up with is really cool. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw pictures of this back in the day, I expected it to be absolutely massive, but it's actually a nice manageable size and fits with other jet formers in generations, so I like this. It's a 3-tiered jet, sort of Leonardo da Vinci style, and it looks really sick. I love all the angles, like the bat wings, but he does also just look like a robot in Thunderbolt pose. I think it's just like a Big Mac because of the 3-tieredness. You can tell it's a robot just squatting, that's what I'm trying to say. I really love the big purple dorsal fin. I do wish he came with optional purple wings because I feel like that would have looked a lot more epic. He does have train wheels, so he fits on that track that I don't have anymore, and he can clip into the other Seekers and their Prime, so that's a really nice play feature to have them all linked up if you want to. It's just a neat little thing from the early days of third party, and yeah, I'd say it's worth a pickup if you're really, really careful with it. I did get this for $40 brand new on Big Bad Toy Store, but it is sold out. but I think that's a fair price for it. If you can find it for that price, then I'd say go for it. Any more, and I'd say maybe pass. But that's my look at Mastermind Creations Warper, or their Skywarp. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.